Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
It's Coffee Ann here on ON, AM, and FM. Thank you for joining us. It is the first day of March in the year 2023. This is Joe Callahan. Tim Draper from Navigant Credit Union is here. Good morning to you there, Tim.
Good morning, Joe. Happy March.
Happy March to you. Melissa Smith from the St. Antoine Communities is here. Hi, Melissa.
Good morning, everybody.
And we're expecting John Ward to be joining us. He's not here at the moment.
John Ward's expecting?
Yes, how about that?
Why do I feel like I heard the door?
Well, it could be. Dave's going to go check on that now. In the meantime, though, Melissa, it's time for our first message from the St. Antoine Communities, please.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know a lot about St. Antoine Community, we are a large long-term care campus located in North Smithfield, and we're on the line of Blackstone, Mass. and Woonsocket. And on our property, we offer an expansive continuum of services that range from assisted living to short and long-term skilled care. We have a state-of-the-art rehab center, a private hospice suite, as well as a large secured memory care unit. And the two buildings on our property are the Villa at St. Antoine, which is our 76-apartment assisted living facility, and the Residence at St. Antoine, which is our 180-bed short and long-term skilled care facility. So if you're presently at a crossroads with your loved one and trying to determine when is the right time to seek more help and support, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'd be happy to walk you through your options. You can reach me at 401-767-3500 or email me at msmith@santantoine.net.
She looked like she had to think about that number for a minute.
Hark, I hear.
John Ward is joining
John
us
Ward.
in just
That
a
wasn't
second
my
here.
thinking face. That was my, it's
Hearing.
John face.
He has arrived.
Yay.
Nice of me to show up late so she could get her first commercial.
That's very nice of you, John. Very
nice
good.
of you.
Very
Your
nice
beard
of
is
you.
coming in
I know.
stupendously.
Stupendously. Are you trimming it at all?
Eye on the prize. How long are we going for?
Not long.
Okay.
This is about it. It's
It's there?
Very
I've
sophisticated.
got a trimmer that will keep it at a certain length, and this is about.
This is it.
As close as it's going to get.
Keeps it
Okay.
keeps it clean.
All right, very good. I'm glad John made it in because I wanted to run something by you. I hope you're not too distraught. Is everything okay? Dilbert's not in the comic strips anymore, and I know
No,
that's one of your
this is
favorites.
disturbing.
It is disturbing.
Oh.
Are you guys following
Because
what's going on with
I
Scott
believe
Adams,
because
the illustrator of
No.
Dilbert?
The comic, the writer, has personal issues that have interfered with his ability to now communicate his humor,
Yes.
and I guess too much of the world doesn't see the distinction between those two things.
Oh, they can't be separated.
But he's very funny.
Yes. Now, it's got nothing to do with his comic strip.
No,
It's got to do with him.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he made
He-
a personal comment, right? About
He went on
something.
YouTube, made a kind of what people are considering like kind of a racial
Yep.
tirade, and so now all the papers that carry his comic strip said
You're done.
Well, his
You're outta
distributor
here.
actually cut him.
the syndicate.
The syndicate cut him.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
Wow.
each paper was just
It
dropping.
was at first, but then the syndicate cut
Said,
him and said,
"Forget it.
"Nope, we're not
We
doing
can't have you
business with
anymore."
them."
Makes you just wonder: has he made enough money
I think he has.
in
Probably.
from his books and
Does he
everything
get-
where he can do this?
Do you get, I mean, it's going to sound like a weird question, but do you get royalties from comics if they reappear? Like if a strip reappears
I'm
somewhere?
sure you do. I'm confident that they take care of themselves
Yeah.
when they do those things. Plus
So-
the book sales, and he'll probably come up with another book just to
Yeah,
do something.
Supplement his
But now-
fixed income.
but now you won't get his comics anymore, John. I'm like, oh, you're gonna be getting the shakes.
Well, yeah, it's
Yes, he is.
and,
okay.
and Lori Lightfoot won't be mayor of Chicago.
No, she won't. How about that?
What happened?
She lost.
I just heard that.
They
Yeah.
have
They
have
got a-
First time
they have
in
a
how many
runoff-
years?
They have a runoff
Yeah.
system where you have to
Yep.
get 50%. So 9 people ran.
And two people. They cut it down to two. She came in
She
third.
only got-
I thought she came in third.
She came in third.
Okay,
So the
I was
top
right
two-
on that.
The top 2 have to run off
Yeah.
in an election to see who's going to be the mayor. And I know.
So she doesn't. She's not going to be the mayor of the most violent city in the country anymore.
I think
That's
I'd be
correct.
relieved.
Yeah. If I was a
Is
resident,
that
I'd
an
be
op?
pretty
I
happy
mean,
about that.
privilege.
You
I don't
did
want
your
that
term and then you
pressure
kind of said,
anymore.
I'm good.
Get out.
I think she got about. Here it is. She got about 13%.
Of the vote, yeah.
No, she got 17%.
Why did I
The-
think she was well liked?
The person
was
who
that
came
in
in
my own
first
head?
place, got
kept getting
33.77%. And Paul Vallis, and then Brandon Johnson, the teachers union organizer, wound up with 20.29%. Laurie got 17%. She's
Okay.
out. Those two have a runoff, and to see who's Chicago mayor.
So was,
It'll be in
was
April.
security the number one topic on that race, I wonder? Or?
Oh, I'm sure it was a lot of things, but safety, public safety was huge.
Yeah.
I'm sure. She's had issues since she took office and decided that
It's a free-for-all.
well, no, yeah, not really. I think it was the same problem many district attorneys have who were supported by the organizations that George Soros funds, where they take very liberal views on crime and punishment and don't really focus a lot on the punishment end. So he was a part of that defund police concept. Plus, and then with all of that, she was the mayor. She was a mayor of a big city during COVID. That
It wasn't her fault.
I'm not saying it was,
okay.
but when you have a lot of high violence and crime, combined with people being angry by whatever COVID restrictions, and their education system struggles too. And the teacher union is a very, very strong union. It basically controls the state legislature from Chicago.
And did you say one of those candidates is the
He's
is
an organizer.
for the
He's a-
union?
yes.
Oh, that ought to be good.
And he had the teacher's endorsement.
Oh, sure.
The other guy, Paul Vallis, who actually came in first in the runoff, was a former CEO of Chicago Public Schools.
Huh.
But he had the police union support
Okay.
because he's doing a little more of the law and
Public
order
safety,
message.
yeah.
So
right.
I suspect that probably Vallis will come out of this the winner.
All right, a little closer to home, front page on today's story. John, you want to go over just your opinion of what took place at the combined school committee?
No.
City council meeting? Well, just what's the deal with it says conflict on the number of fields at Cass Park. Do they not know how many
Yeah,
they need or want, or what's the story there?
It's a question of, with fewer fields that have lights, can you accommodate the need that they use 5 fields for currently with all after-school practices and games, because they don't have lights and they have enough room at Barry Field? And if you lower the number of fields available, then you have to go to practicing in the evenings in some cases, so there may or may not be enough fields with that extra time. There's a couple of things that come into play there. One is you're going to get a very high level of wear and tear on the artificial surface, and the other fields will be natural grass, so they will have to be maintained. The other issue is who is going to be in control. Is it going to be school property when it's all done, or is it going to be city property that the school will have a preference for in using? And if the school department has to use it for so many hours, it could be that other groups won't have that availability to them. And the third thing is something that I had asked. I asked the athletic director if they had contacted other school districts who have only one field or maybe 1.5 fields to use, whether it's North Smithfield or, well, North Smithfield, they said, has other fields beyond the artificial surface that are outside of it, where they have outfields from baseball fields and other areas where they
lights?
can practice.
Yes.
Where they can practice after
True.
school.
True.
But Lincoln, I know, that's the field. And they have a small baseball field down the hill at the back that they might use. But I've never, and then they have some empty grass fields out in the front that they might use for some practice. But I've seen them practicing at night. And because I've had evening meetings, I go back there, the lights are on, there's a soccer team out there, there's a football team out there. The issue in Woonsocket, though, is when I go to Lincoln meeting at Lincoln High School and the lights are on and all these people here and there's a whole row of cars. These are families that own cars or have parents who can drop them off. That's not Woonsocket. Woonsocket transportation would be a serious issue. Once you send kids home, they may not, on a bus, they may not have transportation available to come back to show up to practice at 6:30 or 5:30. So that is a serious factor in deciding how this would work. So there's all kinds of issues that have to be fleshed out and discussed and decided upon, combined with the fact that the school department is looking to build an elementary school at Barry Field The stipulations on the land restrictions say that they have to use the majority for recreational and athletic activity, which means they can only use 49% of the field, of the entire space. And then if they were to surrender part of it for the mayor's supermarket concept, then they would have to probably exchange that acreage for acreage at Cass Park, where they would control it and have the same limitations. Very complex matter. And both, I think, the mayor and the school committee, and I think everyone in the room wants to make sure we have the best available for the students. But it has to be in a mechanism and situation and opportunities that can actually work for the students in Woonsocket. And so there's still some challenges ahead, but they're going full steam ahead with the Cass Park work. They're going to be closing Beyond Track because the trucks are going to be running through there to do the gravel mining, so to speak, to pick the dirt up and clear the hill out. And they're going to continue with the development. There's also the question of if it's city-owned, there's no housing aid reimbursement, and they're projecting 94% for an elementary school at Berry Field. However, that includes some incentives that have to do with physical buildings that they call newer and fewer for 5%, and 5% is energy efficiency, which wouldn't happen with an athletic field. So it may be closer to 78 to 84% reimbursement. That they possibly be eligible for if it became school property and it was funded through whatever resources we had to fund it as a school project and school-operated field.
Where do you stand, John? Should it be city-run or should the school run it?
I think the best interest of the city would be to have it funded at 80% by the state, using it as a school facility, because the school is the primary user. They would have to be the primary user whether the city owns it or not. You can't deny the school the opportunity for their athletics program just because you may have a disagreement with school people. And I'm not saying that would happen, but it's much simpler if you simply have it as a school responsibility, because the other part of it is, frankly, you got to spend, I think it's probably $15,000 to $35,000 for what they call manicuring equipment to maintain athletic artificial surfaces, and they need to be maintained regularly and swept and reset, because every 10 or 12 years you're going to have to replace the surface. And that means you need to set up a sinking fund of about $100,000 a year to set aside money so that when the time comes and you got to pay $1 million or $1.2 million to replace the surface, the money's there to do it, because you don't want to have it wear out. You saw what North Smithfield went through?
Yep.
Yes.
And all of a sudden it was, we need $1 million?
There was a lot of missteps.
Yes, you do.
that you
And
should learn
I'm
from.
told a lot, part of it was because they did not spend a lot of effort on maintaining it, as they should have.
Yep.
Any comment on that, Melissa?
I have a lot of comments
Oh,
on that.
Put that camera on Melissa.
Nope,
What a
nope, that
perfect
we will
segue.
not share on the air.
Go.
All
But
right.
I will just say that as a husband who
I should
works
say,
in
is my understanding of that correct?
spot on,
Okay.
as having a spouse who works in college athletics and understanding the process of and the need of replacing and manicuring and all that kind of all those steps involved with having artificial turf, and yeah, we made some mistakes in our town, but go about it the right way too, with vetting out different bids and going with the right company that fits, not worrying about cost as much as longevity as well. Don't cheap out is my advice for the conversation.
And I have to say, I've often gotten funny looks from people when, even as far back as 2013, when we were desperate, I said, when we do get money, we need to focus on capital expenditures and infrastructure improvements. And it has been, to the credit of Mayor Baldelli Hunt and D'Agostino, it has been a priority to take care of capital needs. And I recognize that and appreciate it, because I think it's important. I've worked with the town administrators in Lincoln to focus on making sure that gets taken care of, and that's why when I first started there, we took the gambling money, found a way to channel it into capital funds so that it could be used to maintain the school buildings and improve them, and maintain the city buildings, and do road work and do a whole bunch of things that must get taken care of if you're going to have a long-term useful facility. And I think the same thing should apply here.
And I think, athletic facilities in general, and, this is coming from like a marketing perspective even, and as a sports parent, it showcases your town and your city. You have out of town competitors coming in for big games, meets, whatever. I've said it to you a few times. Lincoln's complex is beautiful. The way they did the field on the backside of the high school came
Yes.
out beautiful. And as a spectator from another town, I'm like, wow, that's really nice. And ours was in the works at the time that was complete. And it was sort of like, hey, can we adopt anything that they've done? I mean, we certainly don't have like the dip to the stadium that you have with the nice wall and everything.
Yeah,
but, there's some features that we can adopt to make it as picturesque and visibly pleasing. So when out of, town folks come to our community, they'll be impressed by what we have. So that matters too. It markets your town. It showcases what you have to offer, or city, what you have to offer. But I will say one other thing is don't underestimate utilization. Like I think our town was not really considering the fact that we were one of the few turfs that were being developed in the northern part of the state, and the amount of people that wanted to use it and rent it out. And that also takes wear and tear on the field. So that's obviously going to impact how often you need to replace the turf. In addition, if there's not a lot of shade covering, like ours is fully out there in the middle of like,
The
just
elements.
no tree, right? The sun bakes the turf, and nobody wants to practice, my kids included, anywhere from 10 to 2 in the middle of the summer on that turf
hot
because it
grass.
is
Hot
hot
stuff.
and it burns your feet.
Yeah. Okay.
So it raises the temperature by 20 to 30 degrees easily just being out there baking in the sun. So there's all that to consider. That's where the lights piece is really important, I think, if you're
Gives,
developing a
gives
turf.
you an appreciation for what the Arizona Cardinals must go through.
100%.
That's right.
I
100%.
I never thought of it that way with the heat that comes off, but yeah,
Off
it's
the field.
artificial.
It's just the first thing my kids will say, like in the middle of a game, they're yelling up to the stands, like, my feet are burning. It's hot.
My only fear with artificial turf is, and you've seen it in football games, when the kicker kicks the ball, or when somebody lands and they do the close-ups and that black dust pops up,
Flying up. Yeah.
because that is also artificial material.
Oh, yeah, the pellets that are all
The
over my
pellets,
car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there have been lawsuits already about people claiming that they're
Cancerous.
cancer-causing agents.
I thought these things were
Especially-
old
Tires
tires.
were
Yeah.
ground up.
Especially soccer goalies who are, when they're chasing after the ball and they're jumping and they're landing flat on the ground and that stuff's coming right up in their face. People are kicking a ball towards them. Their foot hits the turf. It kicks up that stuff. It comes
Right.
right into their
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
So they have a higher exposure than most people do.
Interesting.
All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, so we're going to send it back to Melissa for a second message from the St. Antoine communities.
Let's see. I think it's best for me to just talk about golf. It's on my mind. We're having our first golf committee meeting in a couple weeks. And I always like to open it up to the public that, if you're interested in supporting our annual event that has supported so many fantastic projects over the years, everything from our CNA classes and being able to afford free tuition for those students enrolled in it and getting them free certification, to even our beautiful John St. Sever walking path that we installed a few years back. And then most recently, we're able to purchase a handicap accessible van for our property. It's an event every year that we rely on heavily to bring in some big dollars and to support those projects that we couldn't otherwise afford. It's coming up on August 21st, and I know you're laughing, coming up, but it is from someone's perspective, like my own. Planning an event like this takes a village and it is exhausting, and it's going to be here before I realize it. So if you're interested in either donating, participating, sponsoring, Landmark has signed back on to be our title sponsor again, so we're always super appreciative of their support. Navigant, I already know, is going to be supporting us as well. So reach out to me if you want more information, 401-767-3500. Be very happy to get you involved. Thank you.
All right, and the Coffee and program will continue. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
The Coffee and panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
We're local and live at 99.5 FM.
All right, it is Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Tim Draper, Melissa Smith, and John Ward. And moving on, statewide stuff. Senator Elaine Morgan wants to completely eliminate the tax on Social Security income in Rhode Island. Is this a good idea?
I'm collecting Social Security, so I would say yes.
Yes. that's one yay.
Somebody with a vested interest in that.
She's just saying, well, you've already been taxed on the money anyway, so you're being double taxed. So why are you being double?
Right.
Since you're being double taxed, you shouldn't
what I was
be.
gonna ask you.
Take one away.
Did you think of that?
And I guess we should eliminate the sales tax, too, because you've already been taxed on that money, too.
Well, keep it at one tax at a time, okay?
Baby steps, John. Baby
That's
steps.
right.
It's a nice gesture, but I suspect it won't work.
You don't think won't go
Seeing
anywhere?
as Rhode Island is among one of the highest states in the nation in terms of elder population. Many though are not taxed because they don't reach the income level to hit taxable status. But it's in the state of Rhode Island to have somebody say that means they don't understand how it is that most of the people who actually pay that are fairly well off. So it wouldn't be saving somebody that's living in a subsidized elderly high-rise a dime because they don't pay any tax anyway because they
All
don't
right.
make enough income to pay tax. So you're not saving the poor anything if all they have is Social Security because they won't be paying taxes on it. It's not high enough.
Did you know that Rhode Island is only one of 12 states that tax some or all their residents' Social Security benefits? Other states aren't doing it.
Okay, but that's a tax on the wealthy. So
Yeah.
why should they? And they can afford it, I guess, is the point, so to speak.
Okay.
If you want to make that argument, I just don't see it as benefiting. I mean, it's a gesture. It's great. It tells people who collect Social Security, oh, we're not going to tax you.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them don't pay tax.
Okay. Tim,
Yes.
a bill
That
has been
explains it.
introduced. What?
Dave
Yes,
said
sir?
she's a Republican. I said,
Yes.
that explains it.
Another bill in the House proposes universal free school breakfast and lunch for everybody in Rhode Island. Everybody everything's free.
Everything's free. We don't
Yeah.
have to worry about paying for anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reality is breakfast is an important part of the student's day, and a lot of those kids go in and they don't have
Yeah.
anything to eat because the house or the family situation that they come from, just that's not even a thought in somebody's mind in the morning. Let's put some food in that child's belly, or they can't afford it. So I do think there's a place for it, and I think it's important. Do I think that it should be a carte blanche across the board? No, I don't. I don't think it should be across the board. I think that parents who have the means should be responsible enough to do it. And those who unfortunately may not have those means, then they should be helped. They should be supported. Those
Some
kids should
of
have
them,
an
some of them
opportunity.
do, and little Jimmy will be going in to eat his second breakfast.
Yeah, right. So again, I think there's a place for it. I don't know how exactly you would, figure those means out, but I do think that giving a child a breakfast and lunch is that may be the only meal they have.
Okay.
I think that's important.
Melissa, do you have thoughts on the should it be free? Should lunch and breakfast be free in the schools?
I don't have a strong opinion on it. Everything Tim said, I completely agree with. I think that there's bigger problems to address, more about what's going on at home and how can you support at home, especially right now where we're hearing that the dollars available for COVID relief to families for additional
Are gone.
food
Are gone.
vouchers are going to be, I think, ending or eliminated as of the end of this week.
Something like that.
Right.
yes.
So if it were more of like streamlining dollars over to WIC or to some other channel to ensure there's food at home, I'm not worried about food access at school so much. And I can only say from the standpoint of having two teens who do have access to food readily. Either they don't have time to eat lunch anyways.
Yeah.
These kids have 15 minutes in the lunchroom. So half the
just-
time my kids are like, just give me a yogurt. I don't have time to eat anything else. And
I don't know how accurate this is, but I heard in Cumberland that there's always this uncollected funds for lunch.
yes,
And that's apparently become a fairly sizable issue. But
Big
the
deal.
people who don't pay it are the people who have the means to pay it.
right.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are the deadbeats.
Yeah.
I don't mean that, but yes, I do mean that as pay your bills.
Right.
I mean, I paid for lunch when I was in school. Again,
I suppose you want people to pay their own student loans, too.
What is going on with this country?
No.
Yes, I do. Actually, I just don't want the government to charge interest on it. I think
Right.
I think
Yeah.
Cicilline actually has a point.
The interesting problem with the student loan argument that was going on is, and I heard it yesterday, and I thought it myself, many people don't get federal student loans. They
Right.
get private loans.
Private
Right.
loans. They're not getting.
They're not being forgiven.
No, they're not. So,
And they're
so
probably a majority.
It is the
right,
majority.
of the loans.
the maximum you can get on a federal student loan on a yearly basis is only around $5,000. So at most you might have $20,000 coming out of school as
How
a
many
as a
people?
loan.
How many people are signing up to get this loan forgiveness that think they're going to get their full $110,000?
Oh, I think
Oh, they
that's
probably
that's
think
definitely the
that's-
case. I think
what they're
people
thinking.
like my son when
Fooled
one
ya.
of his
It's
loans
bad.
was a consumer loan, which I mean I knew when we signed him up for it. Apparently he didn't know it, and I didn't communicate that well enough to
Oh,
him.
you didn't notice your name signed below this?
Well, he did. He noticed all my names, but they're thinking about just going to college. They never think about the how
they
you're
get
gonna
out and
pay
they're
for
smart
it.
and they have
then
big
smart.
brains
They're like,
and-
hey, wait a minute, what is this whole thing? I'm like, yeah, it's a because when he went to refinance the loan to make one loan payment instead of one as a subsidized loan, one unsubsidized loan, the consumer loan. It's like 5 different payments you're going to make as a student when you're coming out. He's like, okay, I want to consolidate everything. So they consolidated it all into one new consumer loan, which was fine. Now there's one payment, but he didn't qualify for this forgiveness thing, and he was mad. So that's why he's like, listen, I'm not for this forgiving student loan thing. He goes, I did the right thing. I consolidated. I did my thing.
Right.
I made it convenient. I got a good rate, and now I'm being penalized.
Yes.
I'm like, well, join the club.
Yeah.
I had 2 sets of student loans and basically got penalized.
But
Now I feel like I'm
see,
getting penalized.
and that's where I always, people sort of roll their eyes when I say this, but the federal government often claiming that they're doing things to improve things, actually make things worse.
Yeah.
Because when they subsidized all of these loans and it encouraged more and more and more people to go to college, and they do, and then the colleges end up hiring all of these associate professors and all of these, because the professors can't teach now because they have to manage the associate professors, and then you have all of these managerial positions that have to be put in place to take care of all
Paid
of this
for.
stuff, and their staff grows by 3 times.
Right.
And so your costs go up so high that the tuition goes up through the roof. And it's all wonderful, and then these people who couldn't afford to go to college and use the federal loans get out, and now they have to pay the bill, and they can't get a job because they got a junk degree,
Yep.
and they're still working at McDonald's, and they say, what am I supposed to do? I can't make make a living. And the federal government comes in and says, well, we're going to save you on the tail end. So
Well, right.
what have we done?
Right. We haven't done anything.
We
I think,
have-
again, I go back to
Or they dropped out of school and can't pay the loans.
true. I go back to if the government wants to do something that is somewhat meaningful, don't
Get out of
charge
the way.
interest. Well, get out of the way.
Well, there you go.
Get out of the way, yes. Get out of the way, but don't charge interest. We'll give you the principal to go to school, but
I think
and you
that's
got
a
to pay
great
that
idea.
back.
Yeah.
But you won't have to pay the interest on top of it because I think
And-
the
and,
government's like 5% interest.
And
or
I
something
suspect all of the people that they talk about that go to the college and then use the money to spend on things that have nothing to do with education
Right.
are probably using the private loan money to
like that.
do
Right.
it.
That's exactly what they're doing,
And,
not the
you know,
government.
to
money.
me, it sort of makes me chuckle if they're jammed up. Like, what's that George Foreman commercial? He says, "Not my problem." Yeah.
On the school lunches, when my daughter started going to school, 1st grade, 2nd grade, we would send her with a lunch.
Yeah.
And then one day we got a bill in the mail.
For not using
For like
for the loan.
$35.
She was getting some ice cream.
From the lunch program. And she was finishing her lunch. Hey, they're giving away
they
food
go.
over there. She's
I'm
going,
gonna
I'm going to get more food.
Right.
And she comes through the line. They say, well, that'll be whatever the price is. Well, I don't have any money. Well, what's your name? And they just taking her name down. Now, she's not telling us this until we get the bill. What are you doing? Oh, yeah, free food. It's not free.
It's nothing.
Only eat what we give you. Unless we give you money for hot lunch.
Right.
So we had to put so it was like $35, but we paid it, Tim. I wasn't.
Thank God, Joe.
Yes, I felt very good about myself. All right, time for a look at the forecast right now, and it's being brought to you by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Increasingly cloudy today with a high near 43 degrees and a north wind. Tonight, a 60% chance of some rain and snow before 9 p.m., then switching over to rain, otherwise cloudy, overnight low of 33. Little or no snow accumulation is expected overnight. Thursday's weather, a 70% chance of rain likely, mainly before noon, otherwise mostly cloudy and a high of 50 on Thursday. Friday's weather, 40% chance of rain, mainly in the afternoon, mostly cloudy and 41. Saturday, a 90% chance of rain and snow, which starts on Friday night, by the way, and will end somewhere after 4 p.m. on Saturday. High of 36, breezy with wind gusts to 35 miles per hour out of the north. Sunday, mostly cloudy, high of 38. Monday, sunny and 40, but breezy from the northwest. And Tuesday, mostly sunny, 41, and breezy again from the northwest up to 30 miles an hour.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, we have sunny skies with 37 degrees. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
The Call and WoonsocketCall.com is here for you. Access to news and information is more important than ever in today's busy world. WoonsocketCall.com makes it easy to access important news headlines, lifestyle, and sports stories, classifieds, and more online. That's right, all the community news and information you need and want is just a click or a tap away. For just $15.99 a month, you get full access to our online paper in addition to our daily printed paper. That's full access to our e-edition at no extra cost. Or sign up for the digital subscription for just $10.99 a month. To subscribe now, call 767-8504. That's 767-8504. The Call and WoonsocketCall.com. Here for you. For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, it's ON Radio's Cruz and Bruce Palmer inviting you to join me for the Saturday Block Party. It's every Saturday from 4 until 7 p.m. when we fill the airwaves with the songs you want to hear. It's a party in every sense of the word, so join me live on 99.5 and 1240 a.m. or bring the show with you wherever you go at onworldwide.com.
Thanks, Bruce. It's Coffee In here on ON Radio with Joe Callahan, here with John Ward, Melissa Smith, and Tim Draper. Dave Richards is here as well, and we'll get to Dave in just a second. But Tim, time for your first message from Navigant Credit Union.
Thanks, Joe. The first message is pretty brief. I just wanted to congratulate our team in our brand new Westerly location at 48 Franklin Street. I know that's a long way from Woonsocket, but it does mean that the credit union now has 24 locations throughout the state, fully operational, and we're excited that the Westerly team is on board and they're up and running. It's in what we call soft open mode now, where we're not doing any big celebrations yet, but in 2 weeks we'll be doing a big grand opening celebration for the week. So if you're down there in the beaches in the summertime and you need to access your funds for anything, 48 Franklin Street in Westerly is the new location for Navigant Credit Union, and we can now officially say from Woonsocket to Westerly.
Absolutely. Very cool.
Clever.
All right, it is time for our Dead Presidents giveaway. Right, Dave?
Yes, that's right, Joe.
So tell us all about it.
Well, I'm not really on camera. Back of my head will be on camera in a few minutes. It's time now
There it
to.
is.
This is an yeah right. This is an online only contest. We don't do. This is the only one we ever do. Online only contest. We don't do it on the air, and we instructed our listeners from the 15th of February. Knock it off, Joe. Put somebody else.
Oh, all right.
No, but Dave on.
Well, you could do the outside, or you could do your camera, or something like that. Whatever. So we instructed our listeners from February 15th to the end of the day yesterday, 11:59 p.m. on the 28th, to go online to Woonsocketradio.com. They could register as often as once. The winner will be a single person from all of those who qualified in the entry process, and I'll explain that in a minute. And they will get the one prize
Not a married person?
The one person.
Single person.
That's exactly where
Well,
my head went. I'm like, how are we doing
It's a
this?
single person out there in the audience.
One individual.
Winner.
Oh, one person.
One individual.
winner, right.
Okay.
Who
They
happens to
can
not
be
be married.
Welcome to the wrecking crew,
I
Dave.
saw the look
Individual
on her
person.
face, and I was thinking the same thing.
You blame me.
And they will win a collection of dead presidents plus one really cool founding father. Portraits of them all, which means we start with the $100 bill. And who's on the $100 bill?
Franklin.
Ben
Ben
Franklin was right.
Franklin, right?
Come on.
There will be a.
He was
The
who was
Benjamins.
a founding father.
He was a founding
It's
father.
all about
He was the
the-
one
it's
who's
all
not a
about the
president.
Benjamins.
All right.
Right.
Everyone else is a president. On the $50 bill,
Grant.
Grant. On the $20 bill,
Jackson.
That's
there will also be a $10 bill,
Jefferson.
one $5 bill,
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Well, I'm impressed with your knowledge.
Georgia
I stopped at the
Wallace.
I never
hundreds.
had
Georgia
any of those
Wash.
bills, so.
one $2 bill,
Oh,
That's Jefferson.
Jefferson.
one $1 bill,
Washington.
George Washington.
one 50-cent coin,
I don't know who's that.
Kennedy.
50 cent.
Is
coin.
Kennedy
it?
still
Oh,
on?
yes.
Kennedy was $1. No, he was a case. You're
no,
right.
he's a 50-cent
That's
piece.
Eisenhower was on $1 for a while.
Right.
Right.
And
One
Sacagawea.
one
replaced
25-cent coin,
him. Busy boy.
right. One 10-cent coin,
Roosevelt.
I thought that was Truman.
no, Franklin Delano Roosevelt,
Oh,
right?
Wow, you're
As
right.
opposed
I
to
was
the
with
other
you.
Roosevelt, right?
The other side.
Right.
That's a Washington too.
No, it's
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
That's Jefferson. Okay.
One penny coin,
And
Lincoln.
That's Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Hey, I got one.
Exactly.
That's because that's what's in my wallet.
I know. Well, I
penny.
automatically go to the Lincoln Bar in
When we
Woonsocket,
give
which is
our
covered
winner-
with pennies everywhere.
When we give our winner one of each, they will have collected $188.91 American. Okay, and that's what we're going to be drawing for. And how we draw it is a panel participation
Oh my
measure.
goodness.
Oh,
Yes.
I wasn't aware of this game.
I was unaware of it
Out
either.
of
Sounds
all
like fun.
the people who registered in, there was a sizable number. Our computers went through and took out all the people who registered when they shouldn't have. There's some people out there who really, really, really enjoy playing contests.
Obviously.
And so they register more or different email addresses.
So are we shaming them? Or are we going to be
that-
calling their
no,
names
no,
out?
no,
I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm
that's
just
Why-
joking.
Is that why they call them contestants?
all the non-eligible contestants?
Yes.
We ended up with 121
There you go.
qualified entrants. 121 people
Tim, you're not supposed
are
to read
eligible.
the names.
Well,
He's
100
writing down everyone's phone number.
Let me say this right now because I know the panel will get me for this because you guys are so sharp. There are 121 qualified entries. Some of them are for more because you could
Right.
enter more times if you wanted to. Okay, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to have random numbers submitted by each of the panelists,
Oh,
including
yes.
Joe, the moderator.
Wow.
And then to prove unequivocally that there is no collusion. No, you guys didn't even know we were going to
Somehow
do
this,
this. so how
somehow
could you
this
do
sounds
that?
like it's going to involve a blindfolded FBI guy.
We are
Truth
going to
detective.
the website numbergenerator.org
Oh my
and
goodness.
having the computer pick the last number between 1 and 121.
Okay.
We will add them all together.
Oh.
We will subtract the 121s
It's
if there are
really
multiple ones.
well thought out.
And then that number will be looked up on the Excel spreadsheet, which will not be put on TV because it also has
numbers, phone
IP
numbers.
addresses and telephone numbers. All right, so we will go to the Excel spreadsheet.
And on
and
Thursday
tell everybody
afternoon,
who-
we'll be completing this.
I told Joe, make sure Timmy does his message first. This will get long.
It's a little convoluted.
And
And the
our
show is
enti-
over. Look at that.
All right, guys. And our entire process being audited by the law firm of John Ward. So.
Dewey Screw and how?
All right, so here we go. Tim, a number from 1 to 121.
78.
78 from Tim. Melissa,
33.
33. John,
121.
121. Joe,
52.
52. And we go to the computer, and John's watching me do this here. And as a matter of fact, you can put that camera on now if you want to show it to
I don't
everybody.
have my glasses on, though.
Looking over my shoulder, we hit the roll
wow.
button,
Really
and it
foolproof
will give
now.
us a random number from 1 to 121, and the number is 54.
Ooh.
Didn't you just say 54, Joe?
52.
52.
It says 54.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to take all those numbers, 78 and 33
John is-
and
John is auditing this,
121,
ladies and gentlemen.
and
Is that a Bomar brain?
what's that? Bomar brain.
TRS 80.
No, you made me you skip my brain here. Hold on a second. 78. I didn't know what you
yeah,
were
let's
looking
start
at.
over.
33.
Fantastic.
121. Well, we try very hard to be fair, don't we?
You had
54.
fine job.
And then we minus 121 until we can't anymore. Equals 215. We can do another 121 out. Equals 121.
Really?
Wow.
You saw it.
And on
It's
the
in the
other hand, they wear a
calculator. I'm
glove.
not doing
Yeah,
this in my brain. The actual number is 120. In other words, the last qualifying
I picked
entry
the
is the
winner.
winner.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
It pays to be late and laugh.
Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant. Who's clairvoyant?
Yeah. Now, the list that we have up on the Excel
This is over
spreadsheet,
on
which
the
we
web.
won't show the public because it's not right, is in order of entering.
Oh.
So, like when Timmy was pointing out that two people were back to back on there with consecutive numbers, that means they registered on one day, they registered on the next day, and nobody in between. And our winner is Dave Almeida.
Hey!
Congratulations, Dave.
Yay!
Dave Almeida is the winner of our $188.91. And there you go.
That's exhausting.
That was a lot of work.
That was a
Well,
lot
it
of work.
was, but don't you agree that you're going to have one winner? There's no
Yeah.
consolation prize. We
Yes.
only do it once a year, so
Yep.
we want to extend ourselves.
I will say this was well thought out.
Well thought
and,
out.
The reason I said Bomar Brain was because my first calculator was actually a brand called Bomar. It was back in the
I get it.
70s. It was back in the 70s, and it could do 4 functions.
Really? Add,
Yes, it could
subtract,
add,
multiply,
subtract,
and divide?
multiply, and divide. And I think it might have had a square root button.
Wow.
Ooh.
And it cost over $100
Oh.
to buy a handheld
yeah.
calculator.
Back then,
That's
that's
amazing.
It
And
was
it
amazing.
wouldn't fit in your pocket.
And it would no, it would
It's
not.
too bad you don't have it because it'd
This
probably
is a
be worth
Casio
something
that
at
does the
the
tape if we put a tape in it. And
Yes.
we
which
have
is-
a couple of these around.
Trudell
the place.
Auction
We
House.
like
They
this
probably
model.
could auction that thing off.
Yeah.
What that would be worth?
Okay, so
Next time that Travis is in, ask him.
121
Probably
is
not
our
much.
winner, Dave Almeida. Thank you very
And
much.
I-
And now
Yay!
back to coffee and conversation. Thank you very much.
All right, Dave. Thank
I'd
you
say,
very
Tim,
much.
It's probably not worth much because I had a 9-pin unidirectional IBM Pro printer, which was the first model of the dot matrix printer that IBM put out
Yep.
as a product. And I had one, and I literally was asking museums if they were interested.
Nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted it. And there's nothing quite as exciting as printing with a 9-pin unidirectional printer. Because if you hit a certain font type, it would have to go back twice. So it would print half of it and then come
print the
back
other
and
half.
print the other half.
Remember that.
It's an amazing
Is
thing.
it Belmore or Bowmore?
Bomar.
Oh, I was
B-O-W-M-A-R.
way off.
Put
Is it
Bomar,
B-O-W?
M-A-R.
All right, I'm on it.
wanna
I'm going to try
spell
to
it,
figure this
Tim?
out.
Anyway, no charges are being filed against the daycare service in Barrington after an
saw
employee
that.
gave the dietary supplement melatonin to children by accident. Oops. The families decided not to press the matter any further. The worker was fired by the daycare place called
It
Kids
wasn't really
Quarters.
an oops. He did it on purpose because the kids were rowdy and he wanted to calm them down before nap time.
I can't believe
And
none
the
of the
parents-
parents are pressing
And
charges.
the parents are not pressing
I
charges.
don't
Well, he got his
understand that.
He lost his job.
Yes.
But the parents are not pressing charges because they're grateful for the tip.
Well, he said he was fired because they weren't
They're
following
grateful for the
safety
tip.
protocols.
That's what I have to
So
do.
there are a lot of studies that talk about like melatonin with little kids and overdosing, and they can cause seizures, and there's all this stuff. I just feel like I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked they're not pressing charges.
Well, maybe they don't want
Yeah.
the daycare. Maybe they like the daycare and they don't want the daycare to be in.
And their kids are
too much
okay.
trouble,
They didn't
yeah.
get into.
And they fired the person who did it.
He's gone.
They,
or she's
they
gone.
reacted appropriately.
Yeah.
All right, and maybe not. If you got kids that go to the Winters Elementary School in Pawtucket, maybe they'll go to
my
school. Maybe they
God,
won't.
no.
That is
never know.
unbelievable to me. How in the world?
They're going
does-
to try to open on Friday.
Oh, but
Yeah,
even
but-
that, it's Wednesday. That's
I
another
know.
3 days. I
Why
just
not?
don't understand.
So I'll be over in July when the heater cores are not an issue.
I know.
Oh, my
Well,
gosh.
I mean, I don't know. If I was Gilbane, I'd be going out of my mind that either the company that I bought these things from provided me with a bunch of junk heater cores, or we designed it incorrectly. One or the other. I guess that would be
Someone
one of the
That
two
is
issues. Or installed
That
incorrectly.
is always the problem. Is the blame game after it's over?
Yeah.
Did the engineer design the system inadequately?
Or the heating
Did the
company
architect
Or is it the installation?
place it in the wrong locations? Did the contractor install it improperly? There are always issues. Even the town of Lincoln right now is having trouble settling their high school renovation issues.
Well, it's always
with,
the
with
rush at the
matters.
end, right? Those are the things that are being kind of installed towards the end of the project, and then there's the rush, the deadline, the
Some of it
timelines.
is, sometimes it isn't. It's
It's crazy.
I always go back to the person I work, construction company working, and the owner said to me one time that if you're subcontractors and they all get in the room, they sit at the table, and they pick up the implement in front of them, and they stand up and they walk, and when they're all dead and laying on the floor and broke, what you got left is a building. That's construction.
All right, time to take a break here on the Coffee and program. So, Tim, it's time for a second message from Navigant Credit Union, please.
Joe, just want to remind folks that if you have a young person in your life, a child or grandchild that's the ages of 13 to 22, and you'd like to help them along their journey of financial well-being or journey to financial well-being, we have our new Embarks to access their funds anywhere they want, and they're always going to be on their phones or they're going to be on their digital tools. So they'll be able to use they'll have be able to. And when you get your Embark account, so if you're an artist and you want to do a nice little drawing, your cat, your dog, whatever,
Say your pet.
you can put your pet on the card. Whatever floats your boat. You just can't do anything that's copyrighted because we will say nope. But that debit card's great because it allows your parents and allows you parents out there to actually control a little bit about where that money is spent and how they use the card. And I guess the biggest and most important feature is that we're not going to let your kids overdraw their accounts. So if they spend or they try to spend more than they have in their account, they will be told, sorry, there's not enough money. And as embarrassing as that might be at Best Buy when you're trying to buy your earbuds, it is a very valuable lesson that you will learn soon that you need to have money in your account. But the Embark account from Navigant Credit Union, go on in and see Christian and his team up there. Ask them a little more about it. They'll be happy to tell you all the great features of the program. And it's a great educational tool for your kids. So navigantcu.org is the website, and 233-4700 is our contact center right here in Smithfield.
All right there, Tim. Thanks. The comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240. Coffee and continues. At the turn of this century, 27% of people who passed away were cremated. By the year 2020, that figure rose to 56%. The Cremation Association of America projects that by the year 2040, 4 out of 5 Americans will choose cremation over a casket burial. Berarducci Funeral Home and Cremation Care Center of Woonsocket can answer your questions about the cremation process. Go online to providencecremation.com. Berarducci Funeral Home and Cremation Care Center on Spring Street, Woonsocket. Let them create the perfect service for your loved one. Berarducci Funeral Home and Cremation Care Center.
Due to higher prices for food, gas for the car, and utilities, the bills piled up, and I got worried.
For years, the Good Neighbor Energy Fund has responded by providing energy assistance to local households.
Thanks to the fund, my family is getting through this tough time.
If your household is having trouble paying the heating bills, please contact a CAP agency, call United Way 211, or visit Rhode-IslandGoodNeighbor.org. Ad sponsored by the Rhode Island Broadcasters Association.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
Coffee and here on ON. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan here with Melissa Smith, Tim Draper, and John Ward. And so the question begs, how far back into someone's life do we go to criticize them?
To punish them?
Yes. Because this is what's happening in
Like,
Tennessee.
are you saying holding a grudge kind of thing? Is that
No, this is more of a political, we're going to slam you.
Oh.
All right. So
Way back.
the governor of Tennessee, last name is Lee. What they're trying to do in Tennessee, there's a bill in their legislature to ban drag shows and cabaret performances in places where children might see them.
Oh, I saw this story.
Okay. However, Governor Lee, a picture has surfaced of him from 1977.
Oh boy.
46 years ago of him in drag. He was probably in high school in some kind of school performance. And they say, well, what about this?
Yeah.
And so...
We could test it locally if I decide to run for mayor.
Yeah? With you?
Bring photos next time.
We're going to go back in John's life 60 years and see what he
Lee responded, calling the reporter's question about him in the photo as ridiculous, saying that it's being, quote, conflated to sexualized entertainment in front of children, which is a very serious subject.
See, and that's the point I think he's trying to make, and that's where the people criticizing him missed the mark.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with drag shows. They've been going on for a very, very, very long time.
Uncle Milty.
But when you do sexualized drag shows, calling it a family function, and people bring in their 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-year-olds, and these people are up on a stage gyrating and doing sexualized performances, not just drag performances. I've seen drag performances. They imitate singers. They come out. Matter of fact, I just watched an episode of that show Accused. It was about a drag performer, and the shows are entertainment. They're not sexualized entertainment. And his complaint is not about entertainment. It's about sexualized entertainment performed in front of young children. That's the problem. Now, I don't know whether parents who bring their young children know that that's what they're attending before they get there. If they do, it's on them. But he doesn't think it's something that they should allow or promote in his state. I'm not sure that I disagree with him. Of course, I would never think to bring my grandchildren to a drag performance where there may be a sexualized performance.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Okay. Well, that's what the governor down there is having to deal with right now.
Yeah, it's like Justin Trudeau, being all high and mighty, and then every time they do, somebody wants to remind people that by the way, how come nobody's ever criticized him for the time he was in blackface? And they bring up the picture of Justin Trudeau in blackface. And it's like, how come you punish this guy, but he's the prime minister and he's okay? And it's because this philosophy is liberal enough for those who would only criticize those who are not liberal enough.
All right, remember, things could always be worse. The Texas Department of Public Safety is notifying victims that a Chinese organized crime group obtained at least 3,000 Texas driver's licenses under other people's names.
Love it.
You love it?
Yikes.
DPS Director Steve McGrew told a Texas House committee about the situation on Monday. McCraw. McCraw said the organization used the dark web to access the personal information of Texas drivers to obtain the licenses and then sold them to people who are in the country illegally. Sounds pretty organized, just like they said.
Yeah.
The DPS discovered the scheme in December. They're still trying to identify victims. Wouldn't that be lousy, getting that call?
Wow.
Getting that
Well, considering
notification?
what they could do with your license, yeah.
Yeah, that's a yikes.
That is a yikes. Yeah. It's like, uh-oh.
They might be voting. I just want to cut in for a moment.
All right.
Because I got an email last night, and I think it's important news to the city. Because the mayor sent it out to all the council members. So last Thursday they had a special council meeting. I was unable to attend because I was working until the time when the meeting ended. But one of the things that they discussed was a possibility of a new tax assessor and compensation that I think there's going to be legislation for a new tax assessor. And she sent an email last night. Apparently he has begun working, and he's an attorney that she hired as a tax assessor. I'll leave the email with you. His name is John Pagliarini. He actually is an attorney out of Cranston. He served in the state senate for half of a term because he won a special election, but then he lost in the next election. He works in real estate as an attorney, and he is also, from what is described, he is a certified tax assessor. So he's coming to work for the city.
It doesn't say when he will start.
I understand he's already started.
Okay.
And a website had him listed as the only attorney in Rhode Island that is a Rhode Island certified tax assessor. So there's some information on John Pagliarini. I hope to be in touch with him soon and discuss some of the matters that I've been researching. And if we can work out the pay thing, which seems like he would have the council's support from what I understand happened in the meeting last Thursday, then I will say if that's what's going to be agreed to by the council, I will wish him well and try to be as helpful as I can and hope for the best.
Okay. We have a note that has been called in. Back to the whole free lunch, free breakfast deal. Money aside, all children should be offered breakfast, lunch, rich or poor. No one knows the family dynamics. Only the child knows, and they might be forced to keep that a secret. Also, use the funds of hiring a strong arm to collect money towards funding those meals. John, do you know? Who is in charge of collecting the lunch monies that are owed? Is that up to the school?
That's the school district.
That's the school
Yeah,
department.
school district would be.
But
doing
who in the school department gets to make those phone calls?
Business
I don't
manager,
know.
maybe? That office?
Yeah.
that? There's somebody in the
I don't
office.
ever remember getting a call. I remember getting a letter,
letter?
similar to what happened with your
With
daughter,
me?
happened with me with my kid back in elementary school. At the end of
When
the
you-
school year, it was like a letter, and then
Yep.
another letter, and then
You owe. Yeah.
right. And I questioned whatever, but I don't remember ever getting a phone call. I don't think they end up actually collecting. I feel like that.
I think that's the issue.
end
That
up-
it wasn't Cumberland, is that they didn't feel like they were going to be collecting all of the money
Yeah.
that was owed, but they wanted to make sure that people knew what that impact was to
Mm-hmm.
a budget. I think
Yeah,
it was
to the budget.
$70,000 or
Right.
some number like that was uncollected.
Yes, because if the federal government's not reimbursing you for the money, for the program costs,
Mm-hmm.
then the district ends up paying the bill.
Right.
But
No
I guess
doubt
I'm
about it.
confused too, because back in the day, before that shift of like electronic payments for the cafeteria and everything else, so CACFP, I'm gonna forget the acronym, Child and Family Programming. It oversees like meal reimbursement based on household size. I feel like we talked about this before on the air, even based on categories of income per number of
Right.
family members in the household. You would get like a percentage off your meals, or for actually free lunches
Free
if
or
your child
reduced, free
qualified.
or reduced
So
lunches.
I never really saw anything wrong with the way that was presented, and they did it discreetly. So it was definitely something that a parent would fill out at home, and then every kid would get a debit card anyway. So it's not like it was my family's rich and we can afford it versus your family is poor and you
mean,
can't afford it.
That was after the days where they would hand blue tickets
Oh,
to the
right.
people
That
who
was
were
very
free,
obvious.
and red tickets to the people who
We're
were
not
reduced.
free.
We're just going to basically
So I guess
identify
yeah,
everybody.
that's already established. That's already in place. So I guess I'm trying to understand if this is a shift away from that and just saying blanketed everyone's free, but that would be federal dollars. So I don't know. More to understand about it, I guess.
Blanket, everyone is free. Okay, then I want dinner.
Right.
I don't want to pay
Dinner
for anything.
too?
Why should I pay for things?
No, I think you have a valid point, and I think they need to take a packaged, bagged dinner
Yes.
for the child and send them home with
Send
it.
them home. But can I add on top of this too? So
I'm
this,
being facetious.
the CACFP program also, because adult day health centers used to be able to submit forms for their participants for meal reimbursement, similarly to the kids in school. So we would go to trainings and it would all be blanketed processes, the same for schools or for day programs. But the point I wanted to make was you had to fulfill so many criterias of nutritional balance. So the only part I never understood is if you're a kid in school and you're under this coverage of having a free meal, you're making choices. You're choosing maybe chicken nuggets and chips and a brownie. It's not that balanced meal. Like I'd be more of a component to support it if I knew it was going to be a balanced meal going to that kid that maybe isn't getting all the nutritional value they have at home.
There's where you may be misunderstanding the program, because I believe if you're going through the line, if you don't have certain things on the tray, they say, no, in order to meet our requirements, you have to put this on your tray and eat that
And
too.
you have to have milk.
To have
There's
the
like a-
balanced meal.
Right.
And then they take it and they go to the table, they eat what
they
they want, and they throw away the
That's
rest.
true. But at least they have a clear conscience knowing
They're
that
kids.
they've
Yes.
exposed you to what the healthier choices
Yes.
are.
Massive food waste is
Massive
called
food
school
waste.
lunch program.
Yep, I agree. I don't know the resolve on it.
Who wants a pear? You know?
I do.
I
Actually,
love
I love pears.
Do you? Oh, I don't.
That's a
Just-
great.
just-
That's a
just-
great dessert.
It's just
Cantaloupe
mush.
in a fruit cup should not be allowed. That's where I go. But pear is great.
Honeydew melon's a little better than cantaloupe.
I agree.
And before we leave,
Yeah,
I know
okay.
you were on national nonsense. Speaking of national nonsense,
That's all right, but we're wrapping things up.
the Tony neighborhood of, what is it? Why can't I see the name here? The richest Atlanta district. What's that called? Buckhead, just outside of the north side of Atlanta.
What about it?
Is
Be
edging
careful what you
closer
say.
and closer to separating themselves from the city of Atlanta and becoming their own.
Their own state
community.
City? Okay.
Yeah. This is like one of the richest neighborhoods in the country.
Well, good for them.
And they're
Secede
tired of
from
they're
Atlanta.
tired of being governed by rules and supported by law enforcement that deals with their claim is that being part of Atlanta brings too much crime to their neighborhoods, and
They
so
may be right.
They want to, well, but I don't know. You could have that happen in a lot of places.
I guess. All right. Well, we've come to the end of the program, so we have to go. So thank you very much for listening in, and congratulations once again to Dave Almeida, the winner of our Dead Presidents contest. And Tim, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, everybody. Congratulations, Dave. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right. And Melissa?
Have a great day. See you next week.
Very good. And John Ward?
You mean Benjamin and the Dead Presidents.
That's
It's
right.
like a rock group, right? Everybody got to go out and enjoy the God-given day.
Very good. This is Joe Callahan. Have a great day, everyone. Stay tuned for Gary Smith of the crew. Do you remember at 9:30 on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. Attleboro City Councilor Kathleen DeSimone is the winner of the special mayoral election in Attleboro. DeSimone is taking the office that was vacated by Paul Hero after he was elected the sheriff of Bristol County. DeSimone beat out 3 other candidates in Tuesday's election, including acting mayor James DeLisio. In a press release to ON News, Senator Elaine Morgan has introduced legislation to completely eliminate the tax on Social Security income in Rhode Island. That's the state tax. Bill S-84 specifies for tax years beginning in January of 24, an individual can forget about the state tax on their Social Security income that comes from the federal government. More than 240,000 Rhode Islanders are 60 years of age and older. That's 23% of the population. Many of them are on Social Security benefits, of course, and the Social Security benefits are a substantial part of their retirement income. Currently, Rhode Island is one of only 12 states in the nation that tax some or all of the residents' Social Security benefits. Rhode Island also happens to rank among the least affordable states for retirement. Put all those things together, and Senator Morgan says eliminating state income tax on Social Security benefits will be akin to giving Rhode Islanders retirees a raise. After all, they've already paid tax on those dollars when they contributed them to the Social Security system during their working years. We're double taxing that dollar.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. FBI Director Christopher Wray says the Bureau believes COVID-19 most likely originated in a lab controlled by the Chinese government. Wray shared that view in an interview with Fox News on Tuesday. Wray also said China has been doing its best to block efforts to identify the source of the pandemic. China is pushing back. NBC's Garrett Hake.
The Foreign Ministry responded to Director Wray's comments specifically, pushing back against the lab leak theory, accusing the United States of politicizing the pandemic and smearing China with those comments. It's like not the last we're going to hear about this topic.
Lori Lightfoot is the first Chicago mayor to lose re-election in 40 years. Lightfoot spoke to her supporters after conceding defeat in yesterday's election.
You will not be defined by how you fall. You will be defined by how hard you work and how much you do good for other people.
The mayor said her heart is full of gratitude while highlighting how the city emerged from a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic and made real progress on public safety. Lightfoot was the first black woman and the first openly gay person ever to serve as mayor of Chicago. More than a dozen states are bracing for severe weather as March begins. The weather pattern could cause heavy snow in the Northeast and severe thunderstorms in the South. More from meteorologist Angie Lassman.
The severe threat for this afternoon and even into this evening and over into the hours after the sun goes down, we'll still be looking for places like Memphis, Little Rock, Tupelo, and as far east as Chattanooga to be dealing with the potential for strong storms developing into impactful weather that could come in the form of some damaging winds, some hail, even a few tornadoes.
Emergency officials in Florida say there's no evidence of leaks after a train derailed Tuesday on the Gulf Coast. The Seminole Gulf Railway train left the tracks near Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Lou Mandeville here with a look at sports. Boston Bruins win their 8th straight game last night, 4-3 over the Calgary Flames in overtime. Charlie McAvoy scored the game winner with 4 seconds remaining in the extra period. Dmitry Orlov scored his first and second goals as a Bruin, and Pavel Zacha scored for the second straight night. Linus Ullmark made 54 saves as the Bruins were outshot by the Flames in the contest 57-20. College basketball last night, Bryant fell 66-64 to Maine. Bears complete the season sweep of the Bulldogs. Earl Timberlake had 20 points and 10 rebounds in defeat. Patriot League Tournament, Loyola, Maryland eliminates Holy Cross 73-69.